1001 Nights by Paul. The Tale of Sweet Friend. King Mohammed bin Suleiman was a praiseworthy king who helped the poor and helpless. This king had two viziers. The first was Fat. He was a generous man of good character and admirable custom, and the other vizier was a Mohim. This man was the complete opposite. He had a horror of good, cultivated evil, and had contempt for his compassion. One day the king found out that a batch of slaves had arrived from all over the world, and he called his vizier Fat and asked him to find him a slave who had no equal in the world, and who was sweet of character. However, the vizier Mohid said even if he finds such a woman he would have to buy her for 10,000 gold dinars. That amount to Fat, but although they searched and searched, they could not find a woman who had those qualities. Thus a month passed until one day a broker, who was dedicated to selling slaves, arrived and told him that he had the slave they were looking for, but that she was worth 10,000 gold dinars. They met with her caretaker, who explained to them that she was the woman's name was Sweet Friend, who had been very well educated, knew how to speak several languages, knew about philosophy, about art, but that she stood out most in the was dancing, singing, and playing instruments. She, however, asked the vizier Fat not to take her immediately to the king, because she had just arrived from a long journey. He told him to take her to her palace, allow her to rest, bathe in her, and in 10 days he will take her to the king. The vizier Fat did so, but he warned Sweet Friend that she should not have contact with her son, who was called Ali Nur, since he was a beautiful young man that no maid could resist. She was disturbed by what he told her, said the vizier. After her, the vizier's wife took her to a room where she was bathed wrapped in sheets and roses. Then the vizier's wife left two of her maids to guard the Sweet Friend's door, and to warn that no one could come to see her, because she was naked and she couldn't catch a cold. But then Alinar appeared looking for her mother. When he arrived at the door and wanted to enter, but the employees told him that he couldn't go in because in the room was Sweet Friend, who was a beautiful woman with beautiful qualities and who had been bought for 10,000 gold dinars for the king. Alinor, upon hearing this, could not contain herself, and he pushed the maids and entered the room where Sweet Friend was, who was struck by the beauty of the young man, and they quickly interviewed with each other, and she consummated their act of love. Immediately the maid ran to tell the vizier's wife what had happened, and she arrived in a hurry but found only Sweet Friend, who told her that a man who looked like her had entered and told her that he was the one, son of the vizier, and that the vizier had changed his mind and that he was now going to give her to his son. So she obediently accepted, but that she was happy because he was a very nice man. The vizier's wife began to cry, worried about her husband's reaction. When he got home, she told him what had happened. The vizier was angry. He hit his son, but his wife calmed him down by telling him that she would sell her jewels and help him get the money again so he could buy another slave for the king. But the vizier was worried because Vizier Mohammed would find out and tell the king. This way he would die. But his wife calmed him down and said that his son was truly interested in sweet friend. So the vizier accepted, but first he talked to his son, and he told her that he was in love with sweet friend. So they got married and lived happily for 1 year. But after a year, the vizier, the fat, became seriously ill, and on his deathbed, he asked his son to take care of his wife and never saw her. And the vizier died. His son prepared a funeral for him worthy of a vizier, and then he went to a great depression. That is how it was until a friend visited him and told him to go out and honor his father. So Elinor decided to listen to his friend, but he began to spurge and began to give away that's how it went until his administrator told him that if he continued acting that way, he would earn everything. But he didn't listen to him. Sweet friend also warned him, but he didn't listen to them. Until finally they were left with nothing and he had to sell the furniture in the house to serve it. But they were left without furniture, so Sweet Friend proposed that he sell her, which they had already sold before, pay 10,000 gold dinars for her, and that he would possibly get them again. However, Elinor did not want to do it because he loved her, but she convinced him. So the broker, who had sold her 2 years out, started to auction to offer Sweet Friend, and they start with 4,000 gold dinars. But at that moment the Vizier Mohim passed by, who recognized Elinor, and, and he offered 4,500 dinars for the young woman. At that time no one else wanted to bid because they feared reprisals from the Vizier. However, the broker warned Elinor that it was the worst that could happen, because he would never pay the price for her, that he was used to doing this type of thing and never paid. But that they had a change. He told her that when it was time to go pick her up, he had to go get her and say that he only wanted to punish her for her bad behavior, but that in reality he would never serve her. So they did that. The vizier confronted, and they start a fight. Another took Sweet Friend. But the vizier went to King Mohammed and told him a story in his favor. He told him that he wanted to buy the slave for the Sultan, but that Ali Nur had mocked him and, without caring about his advanced age, had beaten him. Hearing this made him angry, and he sent 40 soldiers to destroy Ali Nur's house and take them to Ali Nur and the slave. But the chamberlain, who was listening, ran to Ali Nur and told him what they were going to do them and advised him to flee. He told him 40 gold dinars, which was what they had, and they fled on a boat to the city of Baghdad. When they got there, they entered a beautiful palace called the Palace of Wonders, and entered the garden of, which was a beautiful place, and they stayed there until it became night, and they fell asleep in a chair. When night came, the palace guard was checking that there was no one in the palace and found them. First he thought of waking them up and taking them out of the palace, but he realized that they were foreigners and wrote them up and invited them to stay since that was what his religion commanded. But the guard, whose name was Ibrahim, decided to lie to them and say that the palace and the garden were his. Then he invited them something to drink, but Eleanor asked for wine, to which Ibrahim said that was a sin. But Eleanor persuaded him, and finally he agreed to buy them wine that Ibrahim didn't want to drink. However, sweet friend and Eleanor persuaded him to receive wine, and so the three began to drink and turning all the lights. And Ibrahim opened the window. At that moment, the great Sultan Harun al-Rashid Khalifa, very furious, sent for his Grand Vizier Jafar and asked him why the lights of the palace were all it. Jafar was very confused, but he believed that it was because of Ibrahim's great generosity and that he had received some foreign. But Jafar wanted to cover up his friend and he blamed himself, saying that Ibrahim had asked him to tell him, to the Sultan, that he couldn't use the rooms to celebrate his son's circumcision ceremony, but he had forgotten. So the Sultan Khalifa became angry with Jafar for not having told him and told him that they were going to visit Ibrahim. Jafar then realized the mistake. When they approached the Sultan, he climbed a tree and saw that sweet friend was dancing for them. Then he discovered that it was not a religious ceremony. He asked to enter the palace, but didn't want to be recognized, so he went to a garden where he met a fisherman and changed his clothes with the fisherman's. Then he went to the palace and told them that he was bringing fresh fish for the visit. So Sweet Friend was excited, and they let him eat, but they asked that they want to fry fish. So Sultan Khalif went and fried it himself. Then he returned to the palace, and they ate it. So Ali gave her some coins, but the Sultan said that he only wanted to see the young girl dance. So Sweet Friend danced for them, and he was pleased. Then Alinur told the fisherman that she was his elf's treasury and that he gave it to her. The Sultan, upon hearing this, asked him, why was he doing that? Had he stolen the young woman? But Alinur told them the whole story about him. After hearing this, the Sultan, disguised as a fisherman, told them that he would write a letter to the Sultan of Abyssir. But everyone laughed at him. However, he said that he knew him and that although he had not been so lucky, he still had affection for him and he respected his word. Thus Elinor left with the letter and reached Abyssir and went directly to Sultan Mohammed to take the letter. He was received upon reading the letter, which said that Ali-Nur would be the new Sultan of the province, since Sultan Khalifa was the one who had appointed him administrator of that province. Upon reading the letter, Sultan decided to accept what the letter said, But at that moment the Vizier Mohit took the letter from him and began to eat. Then he spat it out. The Sultan confused. He asked him why did he do that, to which the Vizier replied that he did not believe that was true. And why had they not sent the Grand Vizier Jafar to carry the letter? Upon hearing this, Sultan Mohammed decided to listen to his vizier and had him imprisoned, but the chamberlain, a friend of Ali Nur, treated him well and fed him well. After 40 days passed, the vizier Mohin asked the Sultan to send Ali Nur to the guillotine, and when they were about to kill him, a cloth of dirt formed. It was the Grand Vizier Jafar who had been sent to find out what had happened to Ali Nur upon arrival. They interrupted the execution and brought the former Sultan and the Vizier before the Great Sultan. The Great Sultan ordered the assassination of Vizier Mohin and named Ali Nur Sultan, but he didn't accept the position. So the Sultan restored the position to Sultan Mohammed bin Suleiman and advised him to choose his vizier better. As for Ali Nur and sweet friend, he gave them a palace and they lived happily. Is this story pure adventure, moral, fable, fantasy, a mixture of all of these resounding ills? This story leaves us with a moral that teaches us that all the actions we do have a consequence, and that sooner or later life rewards or punishes us for our action. For example, the reward that the protagonist received in the end for having been generous, and the punishment of Vizier Mohat for his bad acts. What does history tell you about the 9th century Abbasid attitude toward life, deed, and God? They had great respect for God, although they called him by other names. However, they believed that the highlight their position in the court, the more benefits they had from God. What roles do women play in the story? The role of the women was very passive. They were treated as objects and sold as slaves. In reality, their opinion was not taken into account. How does this story warn us against greed, gluttony, materialism, jealousy, adultery, or dishonesty? The story clearly shows us how the greed of Vizier had led him to make bad decisions that ended his life. But on the other hand, it shows that the detachment and ways of the part of the protagonist who gave away all his assets and in the end pays the price for his bad decision. Thank you very much.